I call to order the regular meeting of the City of Aransas Pass City Council at the City Hall on October 21st, 2019 at 6 p.m. And let's all rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Dear Father, thank you for this day, my Father. Thank you for the blessings that you bestowed upon us, my Father. I pray your guidance upon us, the City Council, that we make the right decisions for our city. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. House Bill 2840, approved by the 86th legislature, states that the governmental bodies shall allow each member of the public who desires to address the body regarding an item on an agenda may do so either before or during consideration of the item. Citizens who wish to speak on an agenda item will have an opportunity to address the body before the item is discussed, and will given a 3-minute time limit to make their comments. Now we're going to go to the consent agenda. All of the following items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of this item unless a council member so requests. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the regular meeting of September 16th, 2019.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, 2016, no.
No,
2019.
2019.
Sorry.
September 16th, 2019.
Okay, because I wasn't here. September
16 is okay, too.
Okay, all right. Now we're going to go to Gary.
Okay. One
Stop
second.
laughing, Chief.
Pull this up. 1 second.
Okay,
Okay. Mr. Mayor and Council, this is an item that's been in the works for a long time. Our current personnel policy is approximately 5 years old. And periodically, because of the rapidly changing federal and state laws, it's suggested, in fact, if not recommended, that we approximately every 5 years revisit and, if necessary, update our personnel policy, and that's what's happened. You approved months ago someone to bring in who specializes in this, in personnel issues, and we've been working with that person. And Karina Sines, who's been the staffer who has been heading up this effort, has done a very good job in that area. It's been very time consuming. We've also run it by the department heads, so that is accomplished. And you have a copy of what has been approved at the staff level to give it the enforcement power of that's necessary in case of any litigation that could occur from this. It's important that the council approve this document also. So you've had a copy, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask those questions. And Karina, if I can ask you to come up at this time. Karina is anticipating with excitement any questions that you might have, and has a bag full of answers for any questions that you'll be posing to her. So Karina, you want to give an additional overview in addition to what I just did?
Not a bag full of answers. Good morning, good afternoon, Council. We did have lots of substantive changes, lots of minimal changes, and then a few substantive changes to the personnel policy manual. We took it from an 85-page manual to a 46-page manual to try to make it more concise. It was a little bit difficult to read and difficult to keep up with. We changed a lot of parts in it. If you want to know what they are, I can tell you those, but I'm not sure how much of it you've reviewed or you want to know about. So.
Can you possibly go over just the major changes, if there were any really major ones?
Well, I actually wrote those up. I can read them, but would you like a copy of it? or I can just read them to you, is that okay?
You can read them, go
All
ahead.
right.
And then you can give us a copy.
And then you can have, okay, we clarified the probationary status for rehired and transferred employees and changed the probationary period from 1 year to 6 months. We clarified essential employees as those employees whose duties and functions are essential to the core operations of the city. We clarified the work week and work schedules for police officers, firefighters, and city employees. We clarified on-call pay for public works and public safety employees. We added temporary assignment pay and provision to the categories of pay when an employee is temporarily assigned to, as a substitute to perform the duties of another permanently budgeted position in a higher pay grade. We adjusted vacation leave to a unified accrual for all employees. Previously, there was a grandfathered provision which allowed for a significantly higher accrual rate, 12 days versus 6 days. Employees earned at a different rate for employees hired prior to October of 2013. So we adjusted that so all employees are actually accruing equally. We adjusted the vacation leave payout on separation to a full balance of accruals at the 2-year cap. We have maintained a 2-year cap. For employees who are subject to a RIF, in the event that we RIF an employee with reduction in force, which previously they used to receive a full month's salary. They don't receive that anymore. We just pay them out their accrued vacation. So we sort of went back a little bit on that and then took back 75% pay accruals to some employees who give us notice when they leave. We expanded the definition of immediate family to include steps and halves for the purposes of bereavement leave. So now with families changing the way they are, there's a lot of half-sisters and step-brothers and that sort of thing. We added a temporary disability policy for allowing employees to request a temporary alternate duty assignment if they're suffering a temporary impairment that precludes them from completing the essential functions of their job. We clarified the uses for discretionary overtime pay for FLSA exempt personnel in emergency situations to allow for the city's discretion of that temporary assignment. We added a tuition reimbursement policy for employees to pursue degree and vocational programs. We updated and clarified the dress code obligations. We updated and clarified the substance abuse and drug testing provision. We updated and clarified the internet and computer use. We updated and clarified the operation of motor vehicles to include license requirements, approved uses, and citation prohibitions, so that if an employee gets a ticket on city time, they have to pay for their own ticket. We added a conflict of interest provision to include outside interest, outside activities, acceptance of gifts, and disclosure of information. We updated and clarified the political activity provision, updated and clarified the smoking and tobacco use policy to include vaping, updated the weapons ban for non-law enforcement personnel to include the change in law to license to carry a handgun. We updated the complaints and grievances policy relating to EEO discrimination complaints to streamline that process, and we streamlined the grievances process. So those were the main changes. Of course, there were lots more smaller.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I do have a question. Why did we repeal the Drug-Free Workplace Act?
There are a lot of laws that we have to follow, discrimination law, harassment law, drug-free workplace law. For whatever reason, they had pulled that one out. I think it was new, and they wanted to make sure that cities were complying with it. But there's so many laws that it's included in this policy manual, and by you approving this policy manual, it would include that law, as well as all other federal and state required laws that we are sort of subject to and required to comply with.
Okay, thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Oh, okay. Did you want to give copies of that to the council? As soon as the signature is put on it.
Thank you, dear.
Tomorrow, probably.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Good job.
Thank you.
Well, okay, that's fine with me.
Second house.
Fine.
Do we have any public comments?
No.
Okay, no, good.
No. Favor of the council?
I lost it here, so.
Yeah.
I make a motion that we approve the ordinance amending the City Code of Ordinances, Chapter 22, Article 2, on personnel policies and repealing the Drug-Free Workplace Act.
I
I'll
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now we're gonna go to consider and act on ordinance number 2019-42770, amending the City Code of Ordinances, Chapter 29, Utilities, Section 29-25, tampering, provided an effective date, providing for publication, providing a savings and severability clause, and ordaining other matters relating to the foregoing.
Mr. Mayor and Council, this is an item that's an outgrowth of a work session we had to clarify the tampering issue. And Sandra, if you want to come forward. Don't know if the council has any additional questions on this, but I think we outlined the problem for you in that there needed to be clarification as far as wording, and the recommendation is to go with the owner of the property,
Yes.
which I think you'll see in there, and that's basically the issue. But anything to add to that, Sandra?
Just like Mr. Edwards said, in case the account is vacant, we are recommending the owner to be assessed the tampering fee, to be responsible for that.
And we're gonna have locks, right?
We are locking them, yes, sir. We are locking all move-outs.
Okay.
If we're just disconnecting because it's the 25th and you haven't paid, we're not gonna lock your meter, but we're gonna shut it. But if it's a move-out, we are locking the meters. We've already ordered
Yes.
them. And
Only,
they're-
only the ones that they don't pay bills to.
Yes, if we have that issue, yes, that you have not paid a bill, we will lock it.
Okay.
Okay,
Just a question.
sure.
Just a question on this one. So the owner of the property is responsible if the renter moves out without notifying the city or even him? They moved in, they opened it, or they did something with it, without the owner's
The owner, you as the
knowledge?
owner of a property, you know when you rent the house
Right.
to somebody else. So you know that you have to let your tenant know that they have to go put the utilities under their name, whether it's the light, cable, water, all of that. Okay? So if the tenant moves in and there is consumption, and neither the owner nor the tenant have come in to open the services, at that time, yes, then it is considered a vacant account, and the owner of the property will be assessed the tampering fee. Now, the owner of the property can take that to small claims court, can assess that penalty to the tenant, but somebody, in that case, either the tenant or the owner opened that meter. Somebody did open that water for there to be water at that location, because we would have already closed out water, but somebody would have opened it. So somebody did tamper with the meter. The meter didn't just,
I know that.
Yeah.
But so if the renter opens it, tampers with it, never comes in, and you realize there's usage, are you
Yes.
gonna try to go back to the person, that renter? Or this says you automatically go to the owner?
What'll happen is at that time, when we go out and read, that month, we'll notice that there's a consumption, we'll go lock that meter. First thing we do is we lock the meter. We'll leave a door knocker on the door saying,
Okay.
we've locked the meter, somebody needs to come to the office, this is a vacant account. Right, pretty soon, that day, same day, I guarantee you, the tenant's gonna come in, saying, I didn't know, the water was already open, all sorts of excuses. At that point, since the account is vacant, the owner, according to this ordinance, will be financially responsible for the $1,000. Now, whether the owner took a deposit or is gonna pass that cost to the tenant, that's between them. But at that point, the account is considered vacant.
Right, I
The
understand
tenant
that.
hasn't opened the account, nobody's on record as owning the account, so yes, the property owner with this ordinance would be considered to be responsible for the $1,000. Because I don't know who else we don't have any avenue to charge the tenant, because the tenant doesn't even have an account.
Yeah,
But
and-
he is renting, if the owner can show you proof, he signed the renter's lease, I had nothing to do with tampering with the water, what recourse do we have to go to the,
This has
I'm
been-
just saying,
Yeah, no, I'm
bringing
gonna tell
that
you
up
my
because that could
experience
happen.
with this. My experience has always been that neither the owner nor the tenant have ever been responsible or have ever claimed responsibility for tampering with the meter. I have yet to come across an owner or a tenant that said, yes, I tampered with the meter. Once you tell them it's $1,000, they don't know how the meter got open. It was already like that. The neighbor
I'm
across
just saying,
down the
just to get
street
ready.
opened it. No, I'm already hearing it. We're already hearing it, and this is why we need that clarification.
You're still gonna hear it.
No, and
Okay,
Just
I
want you to
know.
be ready on that.
We are prepared, yes.
but a vacant meter is going to have a lock on it in the future.
Yes,
So this
they
is
are-
not gonna be.
Not just a tie wrap.
Exactly,
Yes.
this is
We
not gonna
are-
be an
we are
issue,
locking
hopefully
Yes.
in the future.
Correct.
Because they're
We
gonna
are
have to
locking them.
bolt
Because we're
cut
not
it.
just gonna have a tie wrap, we're
Exactly.
gonna have an actual lock.
Exactly.
They do sell those at
I know
stores.
that, I know that.
For
but-
whatever it's worth, they get bolt lock cutters also.
Oh, I know that.
To cut the-
And,
I know
that's
that.
not unusual.
No,
So
know
we
that.
are locking the meters. There are some meters, we've come to realize that the curb stop does not allow for them to lock. We are gonna change the curb stop to install curb stop that will allow for the meter to be locked. So we are taking those steps. Some of the older meters, the way the curb stop was installed, it doesn't facilitate for the locking of the meter. But we changed the curb stop out. It's a very simple process, what I was told, and we are able to go ahead and lock those meters. But we have since started locking the meters when it's a move out, not when it's just a disconnect
Okay.
for lack of payment.
So we might have people in front of us requesting that $1,000 not to be charged, I'm just saying.
Yes, and it's up to you all to decide at that point. You know, I can't make those decisions, you
They
know,
break
or
a lock,
Mr.
they
Edwards
pay
can make that
$1,000.
decision, but that
I
would be.
agree with that. They break the lock, they pay
They
$1,000
break a lock,
I
they
don't
pay
care.
$1,000.
But you don't know who it did it.
I don't care. Lock is a lock, and if it's a real lock,
No, I
they're
understand.
not just gonna go
I
up there
totally
and just use
understand.
pliers to unlock it. They're gonna have to get a torch, and they're gonna have to have a lot of work before they take that lock off. Right, Sandra?
Yes. It's gonna,
Do you
there's gonna
know
be.
how many, about how many a month this is happening to?
The tampering, we haven't caught that many, people with the tampering. This was brought up because a month or two ago, we did have a tenant move in to an area that we realized that there was consumption on a vacant lot. So once we read the meters, we have a report that'll shoot out and say, these are all the vacant lots, and we need to make sure that those vacant lots have zero consumption. So it's not very frequently, but we have assessed the $1,000 fine to other people that have been tenants that maybe we closed them because of lack of payment, and they just decided to open it on their own.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Get some
and
pliers and just cut the tie
so,
wrap.
you know, it is, we have assessed the $1,000 fine to people,
Yeah.
and we will work with them. We will put them on a payment plan. We don't expect them to come up with $1,000 right then and there. We will work on a payment plan with people. But they do need to understand that they should not be
Right.
messing with the meter.
Consequences for your behavior.
Yes.
Good, all right.
Anything else?
Favor of the council?
Well, I make a motion that we approve ordinance number 2019-4270, amending the City Code of Ordinances, Chapter 29, Utilities 29-25, tampering, providing an effective date, providing for publication, providing a savings and severability clause, and ordaining other matters related to the foregoing.
That's not the same number as I have when you open up the agenda memo.
Well, I had just closed the agenda and nobody spoke up, so.
Well, no,
Let
well,
me o-
I
let
mean,
me
I'm just
reopen
looking
it.
at it now,
Yeah,
and it's
the-
like, okay, you were reading that, and I'm going, that's not,
Yeah.
but
Oh, it says 4271 on the printed agenda.
4270.
Okay, 4271.
70. 4270.
4270, wait a minute here. 4270, that's what I read. 2019-4270. Okay.
Is there a second?
Okay. A second. That's
All in
not so
favor?
weird.
Aye.
Aye.
I'm against it, because I don't think it's clear enough. Protect the property owner in case the renter opens it without the property owner being, tampers with it.
Okay, so- Yes.
Okay.
Next one.
Next.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, we got three.
Now we're gonna go to consider an act on removing Amber Ibarra, staff accountant, as a signatory from all city bank accounts.
Mr. Mayor and Council, this is a housekeeping issue since Amber's leaving, and so it's something we simply have to do. So.
I make a motion that we remove Amber Ibarra, staff accountant, as a signatory on all city bank accounts.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we're gonna go to the monthly municipal court report.
Pass your bag. Pass your bag.
Looking at bills.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. This is our activity report for the month of September. Cases filed 167, convictions 114, county magistrations, we've been pretty busy, 65, CAPES pro fine 37, Class C warrants issued 90, CID warrants signed 19, walk-ins, we had approximately about 109, and emergency protective orders, which are also known as EPOs, 6. On our OCA report, if you go to page 6, the total collection was $18,385.16. The city stays with $12,213.35. And, excuse me, what is remitted to the state is $6,171.81. You have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Henny.
Thank you. Okay, now we're gonna go to the community enrichment. And it's the monthly community enrichment department report, September 2019 from Sarah.
Hey, good evening, Mayor and Council. It is our monthly report. I did just kind of tie in because it's year end, kind of where we finished for the fiscal year, because September was the last. So I just kind of wanted you to have some facts there. So I will start with the first slide. And if you have any questions, just let me know. But we did increase our rates in January of 2019. MDD agreed to pay for a rebrand marketing campaign for the next fiscal year. They just did that last month to include a website for us that is not tied to the city's website. It will be tied to the city's website, but a freestanding website similar to that of the APPD. The Civic Center was able to host a variety of events this fiscal year and finish the year with a deficit of $192 that was already transferred from the MDD. The budget for this was originally $250, the difference of $57,985. Revenues for APCC have still dipped since Harvey. We're not operating at 100% right now, but the deficit still continues to decrease because expenses have remained down. So if you look at those numbers right there, you can see how the deficit, we're continuing to, with the exception of 2015, we've continued to bring it down. So this year we finished ending up below 200, which is good. Renovations still pending include HVAC work, electrical work, and audiovisual and sound. HVAC work will be covered by a grant from Repeal, Texas. All 3 of these projects are currently being scoped out with LMV, and we look to release those by the end of the year. So I haven't heard from them today, but I did hear from them Friday. They were asking for some stuff so they could finish that electrical, the scope of work. And Aquatic, moving on to an Aquatic update, we installed a new bleach sanitation system this year, and it saved us over $10,000 in chemicals, so that's very good. It's also a better system. It's not quite as user-friendly, but it's just a better, cleaner system for us. We sold in-house concessions this season, and that increased our revenues by $8,000, so that's good. And then there's just some numbers there. General swim admission, $37,000. We hosted a total of 158 private and picnic parties, hosted 84 private swim lessons, and we hosted over 6,000 students for school field trips. We did bring in somebody to host a Swim for Elsie class from Dallas, and that was funded by Moda Mainstream, so that was pretty exciting. And just some numbers there because it's end of the year, but you can see that our deficit, we've been able to bring down that deficit with the pool, so that's good. We're hoping to continue to cut that deficit. And then if you move on to the next slide, just a quick library update. We host prenatal classes and Alzheimer's support group meetings monthly. We host children's story time every week, Tuesdays at 9 a.m. GED classes, we brought those back. They're held bi-weekly, as well as ESL classes. Those are in the evenings at the library. You can go on our city's website at any time, and the newsletter and all the activities are very available there. And we do host a movie afternoon monthly to include free popcorn. That's really all I have for you. Do you have any questions? All of this can be found on our city's website as well. The library.
No, I think you're headed in the right direction.
Sure.
I have a question on
Sure.
the renovations for the Civic Center, what's outstanding. Do you have like a timeline when that's going to be completed?
We don't really have a timeline. I mean, we do have a timeline because the timeline was supposed to be last Thursday. They didn't meet that timeline. So we spoke to them on Friday, but I'm confident. They're just kind of going back and forth with a few things, and I feel comfortable that we've told the MDD board that we would be having that released before the end of the year. So it should be.
Sandra has something.
Oh, they did today?
I'm sorry.
It's okay, it's okay.
It was a crazy Monday. They called this morning, it's ready to go.
Oh, good.
We're gonna get stuff ready, to Mary, so that we can
So we can post it,
and
yes.
all of that.
So-
So that packet's ready to go for the
Okay.
HVAC and.
I talked to them Friday. I just didn't hear from them today,
I
so.
spoke to them this morning.
But she just said she heard from them, so that will go out for bids here.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh, it hasn't
Yeah.
even gone out to bid. And how
No,
long?
it is gonna be a bid product. We're gonna have to advertise for 2 weeks, go
No,
out
I
for bids,
understand
close.
that, but is there like a?
No, I'm not. I would just be
So we're looking probably
guessing.
next year before it's completed?
Probably, it's not.
I'm just saying, it looks
I-
like
you
it's been
might- I-
going for
you
a
know,
while.
I would be guessing at that point, but I do know that we are gonna have to go through the whole bid process.
I know
Yeah,
you have to do that.
Absolutely. So don't really have a timeline for that.
And
But
I
we're
wa-
close to releasing it.
It doesn't matter.
We're still not there.
You're still not there.
Once we get the bids, we'll have a better estimate of how long that's gonna take for the bill. But we do have to advertise for the 2 weeks, and I think the delay was.
We
so
understand
much.
that part,
Yeah.
as far as advertising, not a problem.
Yeah.
It's just, we need to get
And
the ball going as quick as possible.
sure.
And I hope we put penalties if they don't meet their timelines. We need to start putting penalties in our
In
contracts.
place, yes.
We need
Absolutely.
to hold people
No,
accountable.
seriously, the
Sure.
deficit, you're trying to work it and you can't. Because you're
Absolutely.
saying you're not able to book events because of that.
Absolutely.
So you understand our sense of urgency on that.
And we'll look at the scope of work and see what they have come up with, but hopefully there's penalties, and if not, maybe we can look into changing that with them.
You
for
have
sure.
to.
I will.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we're gonna go to Development Services. And we'll go to consider and act on ordinance number 2019-4271, adopting flood damage prevention regulations as prescribed in the Flood Control Insurance Act. Texas Water Code, Section 16.315, as applicable in Aransas County, Texas, San Patricio County, Texas, and Oasis County, Texas, and providing for an effective date.
Mayor and council, thank you for hearing this. This is an ordinance that we are required to adopt, updating our floodplain maps. The old ones had the Zone X, as you well know. It encompassed some of downtown and some homes around. FEMA came out with their new maps. We've actually been building the new homes to those maps to get the homes up out of the flood zones anyway. This is basically a formality. Aransas County and San Pat County, their floodplain maps did change. Nueces County, they haven't done anything. So we're still operating off that one from 1985, I believe. The only other thing I have to add, I sent this off to FEMA for their review and thinking, oh, good Lord, this is going to take forever. the red tape. We got it back in a day, the Texas Water Board a day, and so I'm thinking we beat our timeline. We have until December the 20th to get this adopted, so that's what we put as the effective date on here. And I believe I sent it to Roxanne, and as far as I know, we're good to go on her. So, do you have any questions?
Roxanne, do you want to look at these before we approve this? Or you're good with us approving the flood maps? Okay. Well, then
Thank
I'll
you.
make a motion that we approve the newly released flood maps in the Aransas County, San Pat County, and Nueces County portions of the city of Aransas Pass.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we're gonna go to the monthly Public Works Department, September 2019.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'm Michael Bonner, City of Aransas Pass Public Works Project Manager. I'm here to present to y'all our monthly report for our projects. I'd like to start off with the Utility Department. I'll go one at a time. Water pressure issues for the month of September were 0. Stop sewer calls were down from last month to 6. Water leak calls were up from last month to 12. Water and sewer taps were up from last month as well at 4. Fire hydrant repairs and replacement, we matched last month's with 3 replacements and or repairs. Meter turnoffs, we matched last month's as well with 12. Line locates, we went up quite a bit from 25 to 41 for last month. And dead end flushing, we more than doubled from 30 to 67 dead end flushings.
What is dead-end flushings?
That is required to maintain the proper chlorine residual in our water line in accordance with TCEQ regulations. So throughout our city, we have dead-end mains. Without them being properly flushed on a monthly basis, then the contamination levels could possibly occur. Moving on to the Streets and Drainage Department. Start off with streets patched for potholes. We are up from last month's with 21 potholes repaired. Signs replaced or repaired are down 12 from last month's of 15. Storm sinkhole repairs were 0 for last month. Roadside ditches regraded by 100 linear feet is up from last month with 27, so that is 2,700 linear feet of ditches have been regraded.
That's good.
Curb and gutter cleaning by miles. Last month, they were able to accomplish 4 miles of curb and gutter. Last month, they were able to accomplish 2 miles. Streets and paving, it was a 0, but we can actually mark that one up to 1 as the Ebert Street paving has been completed. And to finish it off is the citywide projects. We have not added any new projects as of last month. However, we have completed 4 projects, lowering our total ongoing projects from 40 down to 36. Those 4 projects that we were able to close out is the Ebert paving project, Rhodes and Beasley water extension, the softball field lighting project, and also the King lift station repair project. And that's all there is.
Thank you.
Y'all have any questions?
Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you. Now we're gonna go to the monthly Building Department, September 2019.
I hate to be redundant, but it's almost identical to last month. We're at 100 permits. We're just steadily bringing in 100 permits every month. We are growing still, so I don't know too much more to go into. It's pretty much the same thing. The movie theater, we're looking at trying to have that open Thanksgiving.
Oh, nice.
AEP Service Center is now open and functional. They've moved in, so that was a big one. That was probably a $30 million project. Our apartments are slowly, not fast enough, but they're starting to come back to life. I look for this next month to be kind of a busy month for me, getting the existing apartments back online. We've got Candlewood Suites that's getting there. Again, not fast enough, but I'm hoping that they'll be done this year. If not, it'll be the first of this coming year.
I
So
thought they want-
we've got new apartments coming on board that we're getting ready to build. I still haven't seen anything from the Army-Navy Credit Union, but I know it's coming. Our dialysis center is back online, and we're steadily building more homes every day. We have had some help from the GLO, and when I say help, they're helping folks. They're coming in and demolishing some old homes and rebuilding with new. So that's adding to the demolition process that we've got going on. So it's busy around here, which is a good thing.
My only disappointment with GLO is they demolished the house right across from Barbecue de Oro on Commercial. I wish we had gotten that information earlier, because it would have been nice to be able to trade that property with one within a neighborhood, because that's prime commercial property for our future. So
And
that
I'm gonna
did
reach out to
disappoint me a
them
little bit.
and see if
It's
that's
too late.
too
I mean,
late.
they've got all the plumbing in, they've got all of that in, but I think, do we get notice of that before they start tearing them
The
down?
only
Or
notice that I get's when they come in to pull their permits. When I get the plans. and they
Just
pull
use
permits.
Okay.
Okay.
I do want to remind you, there was one house, and I don't remember the name of the street off the top of my head, but I want to thank Burl for his help on it. There was one particular house that the GLO demolished, but they did not demolish this warehouse that was on the back end
It's on
of the
Maddox,
property.
300 East Maddox.
300 East Maddox?
I believe that's the street. It's
Yeah,
over
I
by the,
think
over
that's
by
a
the harbor. It's over
The
by
GLO
our
was
harbor.
not going to demolish the back property, but our billing official reached out to the GLO. We told you in the presentation that we're going to be doing that. He did reach out to the GLO, and the GLO has confirmed orally this morning that they will be demolishing the back structure first.
Great job.
That's a good news for, gosh, is she 80-something-year-old lady?
Yeah.
The house is getting built for?
Yes.
That's great.
You'll probably be hearing from them in the
That's good
future.
news.
That's good.
So thank you, Burl.
Any questions?
Burl, what about, unless, if you mention it, I didn't hear it, Motel 6?
I'm still moving forward. They, Mr. B knows, they're still cleaning up the debris from what he had done originally without a permit. They're still cleaning that up. They are gonna move forward. We are going to have a pre-construction meeting this time, and he is going to do what he's required to do, or he's not gonna build it, so. But he's, oddly enough, he's wanting to move forward with it, which is a good thing. We can use another motel.
They're picking up all the dirt and moving it to the back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Gonna start over.
Mhm.
But that's where we are on that.
And the demolition team did meet again today with property owners, so we're moving forward. Every 2 weeks, we're having those meetings, so we'll bring some more good news to you in the future.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we're gonna go to the finance. Consider an act on ordinance number 2019-4272, amending the City Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, by adding Article 4, Finance, Section 2-75, Establishment of Processing Fee for Payment by Credit Card or Other Electronic Means, and Section 2-76, Establishment of Service Charge, providing a savings and severability clause, providing a publication date, and providing an effective date.
Okay, hi, good evening once again. We had presented to you all the fees, the discount fees that we pay for the merchants for processing credit card payments for our water, municipal court, civic center, and so forth. So we are proposing this ordinance to charge $3 fee, a flat $3 fee on all transactions of $60 or more. If it's a $60 or more transaction, we will charge them $3. And why we pick $60 is because we're not allowed to charge more than 5% of the transaction. So for us to come up with a $3, 5%, we would need to start at 60. So that means, like at the Aquatic Center, if somebody wants to pay their entrance fees for the day, that'll be like 20-something dollars. They're not going to get charged. But if they're going to book a party, that's $200, $500, then there'll be the $3 charge. And it's a $3 charge across the board. It's not a percent. It's easier for the cashiers in the front taking the payments to do the math and all of that. So that's what we're presenting. Right now we're spending roughly about $21,000 a year that we're losing in revenue because we have to pay these discount fees when we're accepting these forms of payment.
And this will cover all city departments, including the courthouse?
Yes, it will be everybody, courthouse, municipal court,
Municipal court.
civic center,
court.
anybody that takes a credit card will be charging the $3 on any payment over $60 or more.
I know I was against it, right?
I know you were, but you came around.
You convinced me.
Well, we can't.
Saves
absorb the
$21,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Favor of the council?
Looking forward to see if I
I make a motion to approve ordinance number 2019-4272, amending the city code of ordinances.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Now we go to the monthly financial report for September 2019.
Okay, this is year end. We're still getting invoices from this fiscal year. But this is a snapshot as of the date that I ran this report. Overall, we did well. You know, our expenses were less than our revenues, which is what we want them to be. As you'll notice that the Civic Center and the Aquatic Center have a zero deficit. That's because the MDD has already paid them for their deficits for the year. So if we go to the next slide, we'll see the revenues. You'll see the blue bar is what we budgeted. Where the dots are within the red line is where we actually were with the revenues. So in some instances, like the general fund, we came under in revenues, but the water department is starting to pick up, and their revenues were up. So then if you see the following slide, it's the same thing, but with the expenses. And you'll see that all our expenses are below what we had budgeted. You know, so that's always a good thing. Then you'll see the following slide is our property tax collected. We've collected, oh my, this is so small. We collected $4.4 million this year. Last year we collected 4.2, and the year before that it was just $4 million. And then the following slide is the sales tax. Sales tax collected year to date is 2.2 million. Last year, obviously, it was 2.5, but 2017, before the hurricane, was 1.9. So we are growing our sales tax base. We are growing and maintaining that, and that's what we need to strive for. And then the following slide, and I think this is the last slide on this, is overall what all our 2 pennies collected were for MDD, crime control, and the city. And you'll see the collections year to date for the whole 12 months for the sales tax. Do you have any questions?
No, but thank you.
Okay.
Always
You got
well
one
done.
more. Let's go to the fourth quarter investment report from July to September.
Okay, this is the last one, I promise, I think, for me. Okay. So, we had 8% of our money at Prosperity Bank, 49% of our funds at Tax Pool, and 43% of our funds at Texas Class. We earned interest in the amount of $40,489. Our return on investment was 2.11% compared to our benchmark. The benchmark for the 3-month T-bill is what we benchmark against. That was 2.03%. This is the first month, this is the first quarter, that I've come and presented this report to you that we've met and exceeded our benchmark, which I'm very happy for. We do have sufficient collateral, as it says there, with Prosperity Bank. We have, we've earned $947 of interest at Prosperity. We earned $20,212 interest at Tax Pool, and we earned $19,330 in interest at Texas Class. Do you have any questions?
I do. It's going to be very,
Of course.
very off.
Okay.
Not something that you were expecting at all.
Okay.
Can you explain to us how much growth and how much, where we are as a city compared to when you started?
In relation
Which was
to what?
when you started.
Like in relation to the-
When did you start?
I started October 3rd or 2nd of 2016.
2016. That's about
Yes.
when I think I got on council, May of 2016.
That's when we started. I can tell you that not because he's here, Mr. Edwards or anything, but I can tell you that his leadership has taken us to forcing us to look at our fund balance and making us grow that and how important that fund balance and that money is to the city. In case when Harvey hit, it wasn't a pretty picture. It really wasn't. And I've explained that to Gary many a times. We've had that conversation that I would never want us to be there again. I can tell you that I haven't met with Mr. Edwards to tell him, hey, we're struggling financially. I've in the past had that conversation with other city managers and interim city managers. I can tell you that that's not the case right now. I don't know when the last time I had that conversation with him, if any was. It's been a very hard road because the department directors, they play such a big part in this. They have to tighten their belts and they have to go to their staff and they hear it from their people. Why can't we have this? Or such a city's doing so much. Why can't we do the same thing? And it's hard. But sometimes we got to make those hard decisions now so that we can, years from now, be able to do that. And we have grown. Staff doesn't see that, but I see that every day. We have grown financially. We're in a much better place than we were when I started. I can tell you that. I can tell you my department is in a much better place than when I started. I'm losing my staff accountant, and I was talking to her and telling her that it's such a shame that she's leaving now because she's not going to get to see the fruits of her labor. All those long days and long nights and weekends trying to catch everything up. This is what we were doing here. This is why I think I didn't leave when I had that opportunity, because I knew that this day was going to come for us here. And for me, I'm seeing that now. And I can see the change. And I can see that we have a great leader that takes us and focuses us in that. And it's not easy saying no to departments when they want stuff. And you know what I mean? And, sometimes you have to have somebody there that's going to say no and be able to grow us in that direction. I don't know if that's what you, Gary,
Yeah.
are you okay with that? 'Cause I just-
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, now we're gonna go to public safety, and is to consider an act on approving ordinance number 2019-4273, amending the Code of Ordinances, Section 28-22, same certain streets and highways, and Section 28-23B, same school zones, providing to erect and maintain speed limit signs, providing a penalty for violation, repealing all conflicting ordinances, providing a savings and severability clause, providing for publication in the official newspaper, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So Wheeler has been one that's just been coming up for a while now, and we finally have momentum to go forward on it. You have the ordinance before you, and what's better than the ordinance, I feel, is the actual illustrations here. You're seeing one of the illustrations there on the screen, just showing you what the speed limit is, what we propose the speed limit move to. Now, this speed limit includes the recommendations by TxDOT, and Mr. Isasi was going to try to be here today, but I guess he couldn't make it. But this will just show you what all the speed limits are going to be basically changed to. And we also had the recommendation from council to get rid of the one school zone. And that school zone is being eliminated as well. And let's see, this is one illustration. Do we have, can we scroll down, Gary? That's it. Okay. So you're seeing how it starts back just past Whataburger, and it'll drop, instead of 55, it's going to be 45, and then up, I think it's by, Gillespie there, it'll drop to 40, and then on the upper illustration that we just had on the screen, if you scroll back. What street is that? A Street? I think that's A Street. I can't really see it right there, but that's what's spelled out in the ordinance. 10th Street, there you go. It'll go to 30, and then pretty much 30, when there is no speed limit assigned to a street in the city limits, it is 30 miles an hour. So if you don't see a speed limit sign on a city street, it's 30 miles an hour by law. So you have just those 3 speeds. Aside from the one school zone, we did leave that school zone in place on around the area of Avenue A in Wheeler. That is a relevant school zone. The one here, though, has been eliminated, so all those electronic signs and everything should come down once we push this through. Now, I don't know when it's going to come down. If you've probably noticed, Isasi's crew has been extremely busy with Portland, the road coming back commercial, and all that stuff that they're redoing. So it could take a while. If nothing else, we could have Public Works devise some way to remove them in the interim. But this was just what we put together for you. If you guys like it, great. If not, you want to see other changes, we can always go back to the drawing board and make those modifications for you and then come back.
I think this is what we wanted.
Pretty much.
And then Roxanne worked her magic on the ordinance stuff.
I'll make a motion that we approve the updates to ordinances 28-22 and 28-23, modifying the speed limits on West Wheeler Street inside the city limits.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And we go to consider an act on approving the fire chief to accept a grant in the amount of $6,000 from Flint Hills Resources 2019 Helping Heroes Program.
So the fire chief and his assisting staff are out this week, so I'm covering for him. He put in for a Flint Hills grant, and if you guys approve, then the grant becomes officially awarded to the city and the fire department, and this is basically for the purchase of updated bunker gear, much needed equipment for them, and they plan to move forward with your blessing and approval.
Make a motion that we approve the fire chief to accept a grant for $6,000 from Helping Heroes Flint Hills Grant.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we go to consider an act on approving the fire chief to purchase a vehicle from the fire department for an amount of not to exceed 38,000 1 penny?
That's what it says.
And I don't know where.
Using crime control and prevention board funds.
So I don't know where the penny came from, and but it was budgeted for a new fire truck out of the crime board, and the reason it's coming from the crime board is he is a police officer, and he is in charge of any arson or fire-related investigations that result in crimes. He does pursue his own criminal investigations and obtains his own warrants and makes his own arrests in that regard. We just simply assist him. He is going to outfit this vehicle to have fire investigative tools readily available for that response. His truck will then be dropped down, and the current truck that he has will be dropped down and used as a secondary response or training vehicle for the fire crew. And they have an older truck that's on its last leg. I think they're going to be cycling that old truck out because his truck will take that place, from what I understand. Now, this purchase, I don't see it included on here, but it's likely to come from the Allen Samuels because we do have a blanket bid that's about to expire. I will be coming back to y'all soon to go out for a new blanket bid to cover our fleet purchases for the next 5 years. But this should either be from Alan Samuels, or he's looking at Defender Services, which is a buy board program that outfits emergency vehicles, and then they deliver them directly to the agency. So that's where that purchase will be made, from one of those 2 locations.
I make a motion to approve the fire chief to purchase a vehicle for the fire department not to exceed $30,000.01.
38.
$38,000.01 with prime board funds.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Consider an act on approving the fire department to enter into an agreement for a new medical director.
Okay, so on this item, Tri-County EMS and the fire department are both losing their current medical director, or have lost their current medical director due to personal health reasons. And as a result, they need a new medical director, and they've approached Dr. David Blanchard for that position, and Dr. Blanchard has agreed to do it. There will be no financial exchange. He is going to be doing that free of cost. They're just providing him with identifying information, response lights, stuff like that, so that because he intends on actually responding occasionally and coming out and working with either the fire department or Tri-County EMS services. And it's my understanding, Carrie, correct me if I'm wrong, but Tri-County did already enter into an agreement with Dr. Blanchard? There you go. So it's already moving forward with them. This would then reinstate him as the medical director. And if you recall, he was the medical director previously. He decided to get out because he only had fire services. Now he has an EMS service, and there's just more incentive for him to be back involved with the service.
I make a motion that we accept the new medical director agreement with Dr. Blanchard.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we're going to go to the monthly fire department report for September 2019.
This should be quick and easy. Shift A team won the Fortnite competition against Shift B team. No other updates. No, I'm kidding. It's just, we got to pick on our fire crew. As you can see, the report here for the fire department, the majority of their calls are medical, rescue, and emergency, as you can see. There's nothing that stands out in that report. If you have questions, I would be happy to get them answered for you and then reply to you all through our typical council reply fashion. But you have the report in your hands to see any of those details.
Now we go to the monthly public safety report for September 2019.
Well, we didn't have time for Fortnite last month, as you can see. It was a rather busy month. It was actually a busy month. If you notice on the calls for service, we were about 670 calls over the month prior. So we had a very active, busy month. Some of the highlights that stand out, I hate to say this, but 1 week alone we saw 21 arrests in a 7-day period. That was rather high, unfortunately. We have now dropped back down to our normal, but for the whole month of arrests, well, it shows 60. I'm not sure that that's right. I thought it was around 80, 88 arrests, but I'll have to double check that number. We had a few good drug busts. Of course, we had that robbery at Sonic where the guy that had a firearm in the car and he robbed a car hop. I don't know what he expected to get from a car hop other than a felony. Of course, we had a sex offender that had chose to reoffend by trying to perp on high school children. He got a 40-year sentence, so he's gone. Hopefully won't be threatening any more of our children. We've had some hits in Pelican Cove to some of our boats where they've been ripping off GPS units and stuff. This actually has been a trend that's been going on for a while. Rockport's been dealing with this for well over a year. It's made its way into Aransas Pass. We're getting creative on that. We actually had a foot chase with the guy. We caught him in a yard due to heavy patrols, but he managed to get away from us on foot. And it quieted down for a little bit, but I did see a report. I read a report today where he might be back. But we've got some things that we're working on that. Training was pretty heavy as far as SRP drills, port security meeting, and we provided all school staff with Stop the Bleed training. And I will tell you, this is now a mandated training that the schools have to do, but this is something that we've been working with the schools since last year trying to get into place before the legislative body made it a requirement. Of course, on our public events, you know, we've got Bacon Fest coming up, National Night Out, Fall Feast. This gets to be our busiest time as far as community-related events that we're doing. But you have that entire report to where anybody that can see it online, it should, in fact, it might have published right now, so it may be already public online for people to see. And, of course, our monthly surveys, I think we got, you don't see it on the bar chart, but I believe we got 1 8 and everything else was 10s as far as reaching out to people and evaluating how we're doing.
Good job.
As always.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna skip 13 and we're gonna go to 14.
Mr. Mayor and Council, thank you very much. There's a special meeting coming up on the 28th, a week from tonight. And we have several items in that, on that special meeting. We started out as a work session, but we need to go to a special meeting. The Pelican Cove fence, getting mixed reaction from the council. We need to get that settled.
Thanks for reminding me.
Okay. The zoning and newly annexed areas, we're meeting at the staff level to discuss that issue. We need to bring those discussions to you. The logo on the water tower, we want to make sure everything is, everybody's in agreement on that with recent developments. The animal control ordinance, as you recall, you wanted time to review that, and so we're going to, at this special meeting, see if you are ready to vote on that. The RFP issuance for City Hall EDC, that's what made it a special meeting. We found out today that FEMA okayed the work on City Hall, meaning the roof primarily. So we can move forward with that, but we need your okay to go out for an RFP. Hence, that's an agenda item. You need to vote on it. That makes it a special meeting. So as of this moment, those are the agenda items for the 28th. Will be a busy meeting.
Okay, now we're gonna go to citizen comments. Citizen comments are intended for the matter that are not scheduled on the agenda. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes and state your name and address for the record. Be advised that the Texas Open Meeting Act prohibits the City Council from responding and discussing your comments. The law authorizes the following: make a statement of factual information, recite existing policy, advise that the subject may be placed on the agenda for a subsequent meeting. Any comments?
Anybody want to speak?
Okay, now we're gonna go to an executive session. Section 551.071 of the Texas Open Meeting Act, to meet with his attorney to seek legal advice on a matter in which the duty of the attorney to the City Council under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with the Texas Open Meeting Act relating to Compound Harbor lease, Justin Chandler, 518 Bigelow, RV Open Storage, 1121 State Highway 35 Bypass, update of 2013 municipal court cases, and Compound Harbor leases. And it is 7:05. Shall be back.
Oh,
We can reconvene,
all right.
right, it's 3?
Who's that?
She's coming, she's coming. Vicky's coming. She had to pee.
Oh, yeah.
Don't turn that off.
It'll start to shake here in a minute. I'm gonna shake not because it's cold, the lack of alcohol.
Oh, God. Like of a jacket.
Ready?
Yes.
We're gonna reconvene open session at 8:30 PM.
There's no action.
Make a motion that we adjourn?
I'll